Hello everyone and welcome back to our Cognex Insight software uh, video series that we've created here. Um, we're going to start again, continuing on through our Easy Builder programming here. We're going to talk a little bit about each one of these particular tabs over here in the application steps. So Cognex has done us a great service by giving us these application steps for us to run through and use to our advantage for both programming as well as connecting with our controller, as well as commissioning our project to the camera itself. Um, I'm going to go through each one of these steps in a separate video, and some will be longer, some will be shorter, so just kind of a FYI on how this is going to happen. So our very first step is obviously going to be the Start tab up here at the top, and our goal is to get connected. And so getting connected to our camera is kind of a critical step, obviously, if we need to see what's going on with it in a troubleshooting phase, or if we're commissioning a new camera, that's just the same way. It's just as important. In the connection phase, we will oftentimes see our camera down here displayed. Now, I've taught this in the past to folks in the maintenance department that I work with, that sometimes setting your computer IP address to find IP automatically in your IPv4 protocol can be helpful by allowing the software to just automatically see that that's the camera it's connected to, that's its understanding. So it's going to go ahead and set the camera to, it'll set your PC's DHCP IPv4 IP address to the same subnet or same IP series as your camera itself. There are times, however, where sometimes that doesn't work, and you will need to go in and set that to the physical setting of that IP set. So your first three octets need to be the same. You'll also need to set your subnet mask to the same. So I have had people hide the subnet mask in like 255.255.0.0, and I can guarantee you in 255.255.255.0 you'll never see the camera. So sometimes it's nice to hide that in a different subnet, so that say you have like one machine that has several different drives or something all connected to the same thing, and you don't want that camera communicating as much, you put it in a different subnet so that it's not communicating as much across those networks. Because cameras do have a tendency to have a lot of communications cast throughout that network at short intervals of time, and they can add a lot of traffic to your stuff or your other equipment that's on that network. Definitely something to kind of keep in the back of your mind. If you do have a network like that, setting your IP address to find network automatically generally is not an advisable situation. I would use that specifically in a direct connection to the camera. Now, if you run into a situation where you don't know the IP address to the camera, but you know the first three octets of that network, that's great. The Cognex makes a software called Cognex Explorer that you can use, and it'll automatically populate that camera up for you, and you're able to see it. You're also able to just use the software, and it'll populate it up generally and find it for you. If that's not the case, and you have no idea what it is, oh boy, that sucks. There's a great feature called Wireshark that I highly suggest you download and install on your computer. That feature allows you to watch all network connectivity that's coming into your computer. I would suggest you set your IP address to find automatically and open up Wireshark and unplug the camera from whatever network it's connected to, plug it directly into your computer from camera to computer direct, and unplug it, plug it in a couple times, and don't do it in fast intervals, but leave it in there for about a minute or two, and then unplug it and plug it back in and leave it in for about a minute. And sometimes, about 90% of the time, Wireshark will see that that IP address has been found, and you're able to connect to that camera. That is a really handy feature, and I highly suggest you use it to your advantage. But if you don't have that, well then your best option is to just leave your network connected directly and using IP automatically, and you better hope that somebody's found it, or you better hope that somebody left the IP address to the factory default. Both of these things are critical to understand. Cognex doesn't always play the nicest, especially on the older vision sensors when your IP address is not known. However, once it's known and once you have it, it generally will pop up after a few minutes of connection or a few seconds of connection. Just kind of depends on the version of the camera, how fast your network cable is, and how fast all of the handling of all the stuff on the back end is. It will populate it underneath your desktop or your whatever your physical connection is, or your physical PC is, whether laptop or desktop. It'll generally populate whatever camera it is. Now, if you're on a network connection where you know the first 3 octets, you know the subnet mask and all that information, and you're connected to 15 different cameras, they will all populate up here as well. And that's where it's critical for you to know which camera it is that you're looking to connect to. Once you know the connection or the camera that you need, you'll click on that particular camera and you'll click connect. If that camera is connected to another machine, you will have to kick it off, and it'll throw up an error warning, and it'll say something along the lines of, this camera is already connected. Do you want to take connection from this, or take administrative control of this camera? The answer to that would be yes. You take administrative control over it so that you can get it on your computer. If the camera is connected to, like, say, a Cognex HMI, the same thing will happen. You will have to take control over it from the HMI and display it on your computer. And then once that is done, it'll do all of its handshaking and all of its communications, and it will display it on your PC here for you to use. And that will conclude everything that you get from getting connected to the camera. So thank you all for watching, and stay tuned for the next set.